I bring greetings to you from Scottish Environment Link, body which is the umbrella body for 35 voluntary organisations, mainly at Scottish level, right across Scotland. And we try to provide a forum, rather like yourselves, for these groups, ranging from the National Trust right through to Friends of the Earth, and one that John mentioned earlier, the Badenoch and Strathspey Conservation Society, a whole series of organisations campaigning on a variety of environmental issues, working on nature reserves and working with local communities. So, asserting people power. Asserting people power is what I'm supposed to be in charge of as the Parliamentary Officer for Scottish Environment Link, and working with our 35 members. And one of the things that I pointed out many, many years ago to Environment Link was that if you add up the memberships of all their organisations, you come to over 500,000 people in Scotland who are members of those organisations. That is 5 times as many as all the political parties put together. And that gives you pause. That makes you wonder who actually represents things in our society and in our community. We no longer have mass membership of political parties. Politicians, of course, are elected, and they have votes of many more than 500,000 people. But these are 500,000 people paying good amounts of money to join organisations. And one of the things they want from those organisations is to be represented. And you are in exactly the same place. I don't know the number of members of the civic societies that you represent, but you have a representative function in the world of politics with a small p. Now, people power is often an expression which is connected to the changes of government in the Philippines or Poland or Georgia or the Ukraine, to velvet revolutions or orange revolutions or revolutions of one description or another. People power is something which is considered dramatic, something that you see on television. And what I'm here to tell you is that, in fact, people power exists everywhere. People power exists even in a dictatorship, where political power has been gathered into the hands of one dictator or a small group, a military junta. People power still influences the way that we as communities take decisions. That's the type of species that we actually are. And that is especially so here in Scotland. We have a very long history. Dunbar wrote his famous play, The Three Estates. Scotland's Parliament was one chamber. It had the church, the nobility, and the representatives of the royal boroughs, the burgesses. And Johnny of the Commonweal came in as the Fourth Estate. In the years after we lost our king and we lost our Parliament, the Fourth Estate multiplied. And by the time that we got our new Parliament in 1999, we have a new policy community in Scotland. And it's recognisable as policy communities in states right across the world. It has politicians. We have political parties. They now have a political institution in which to be represented. We have the civil service, the permanent officials. We have the professions and their professional bodies. We have business and business organisations, and many of you will know through the large developers about the powers in our society that business actually exercises. We have the trade unions, we have the churches, we have the media, which I'm certain that everyone will understand might claim to stand back and be neutral, but in fact is exercising power in our society, in our community, all the time. We have artists, we have academics, we have landowners. And lastly, in this policy community in Scotland, we have the civic sector. Now, the civic word is always a difficult one. You apply it directly to yourselves. I apply it much more broadly. I apply it to what we call voluntary organisations, charities, social enterprises, the third sector, or non-government organisations. It's actually on that last definition that I want to dwell. One of the important things about most of the bodies represented in this room, and all of the bodies inside Environmental Link, is that they are non-governmental organisations. When I joined the RSPB as their Parliamentary Officer back in 1997, the first soundbite that I gave them when I was put in charge of media was, you have 1 million members, that's more than all political parties put together. And in Scotland you have 75,000 members, more than all the Scottish political parties put together. And I used it in 2 directions. One, inside the RSPB, to get the RSPB to understand that they had a representative role, that they had a mandate. These people were joining and gave them the right to speak on the behalf of their members in the Scottish policy community. But it was also aimed at the politicians. And it's been quoted, it keeps coming up, it keeps coming back like a sardine sandwich. Politicians on Newsnight will say, well, we've got to remember that the RSPB has 2 million members, more than all, 3 million members. They're always getting it wrong, it's only 1 million. But it's still all more than all the political parties put together. So politicians begin to realise that they don't have a monopoly on representation. And that is an absolutely crucial fact. The civic sector, the non-governmental organisations, have in our society a well-developed role representing people. Not to try and replace the politicians, but to supplement and to complement the politicians that we elect. And those people organise themselves into civic societies, environmental NGOs or whatever, and they take action. And that action is perfectly legitimate action inside our community. People have a right to organise in our society, which you're exercising, and which you're exercising to protect and to enhance your own communities right across Scotland. You have the right to do it.